The battle had been raging for less than 5 minutes, but Admiral Zethvar's perfect formation was already falling apart. 4 of his dreadnoughts were destroyed, their wreckage spinning through space in clouds of twisted metal and frozen atmosphere. 3 more ships were badly damaged, their shields failing and their hull armor cracked open like broken eggs. "How is this possible?" Zethvar demanded, gripping the arms of his command throne until his knuckles turned white. "Our scans showed a weak patrol ship. Where are these weapons coming from?" Science Officer Crixtel was frantically working at his station, running new scans on the human vessel. What he was seeing made no sense according to everything he thought he knew about alien technology. "Sir," he called out, his voice shaking, "the human ship is not what we thought it was. I'm reading massive internal structures that weren't there before. Hidden weapon bays, concealed power cores, stealth systems that made whole sections invisible to our scanners." "That's impossible," Sub-Commander Veltar protested. "Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy." "Not advanced enough," Crixtal replied grimly. He put his new readings on the main screen. "Look at this. The ship we scanned was a disguise. This is what the human vessel actually looks like." The image that appeared made the entire bridge crew gasp. Instead of a simple patrol cruiser, they were looking at something that resembled a massive weapons platform. Hidden gun ports had opened all along the hull. Concealed missile tubes were launching wave after wave of advanced projectiles. Energy cannons that should not exist were firing beams of pure destruction. "It's not a patrol ship," Zethvar whispered in horror. "It's a dreadnought. A dreadnought designed to look like a scout vessel." On the human ship, Captain Park moved calmly between stations, checking on his crew's work. The bridge was busy but not chaotic. His people were doing their jobs with the professional skill that came from years of training. "Status report," he requested. Commander Lee Da-min looked up from her tactical display. 4 enemy ships destroyed, 3 heavily damaged. "Our shields are holding at 95%. All weapon systems operating normally. Any sign that they're trying to retreat?" "Negative, sir. They're still trying to fight, but their formations are breaking down. I don't think they understand what they're facing." Park nodded. The aliens were learning the hard way that human military doctrine was based on deception and misdirection. For decades, human strategists had studied every recorded first contact between alien species. They had learned that most races made the same mistakes. They assumed that what they could see was all there was. They judged enemy capabilities based on initial appearances, and they committed their forces before fully understanding their opponents. "Sir?" called Lieutenant Kim Tae-sung from engineering. "We're receiving quantum signals from Fleet Command. Admiral Song Kyung-ho is en route with Border Defense Fleet 7. Estimated arrival in 18 minutes. 18 minutes, Park mused. We need to keep these aliens busy until then. Can't have them running away before the Admiral gets here to meet them properly. What Park did not say, but his crew understood, was that this battle was about more than just defending one human ship. This was humanity's first military contact with an alien empire. How it ended would determine whether Earth faced future conflicts from a position of strength or weakness. The UES Indomitable fired again, its quantum torpedoes reaching out across the void to strike another Vorthak vessel. The alien ship's shields flared and died, and its hull began to break apart under the impossible energies contained within the human weapons. Admiral Zethvar watched another of his ships die and felt something he had never experienced in decades of conquest: fear. Not just fear of death, but fear of the unknown. These humans had technology that his empire's scientists claimed was impossible. They had strategies that turned the Vorthak's own advantages against them. "Sir," called his communications officer, "Captain Mordak is requesting permission to retreat. His ship is badly damaged and cannot continue fighting." Zethvar wanted to give that permission. Every instinct told him to run, to escape back to Vorthak space and warn the Empire about what they faced. But he also knew that retreat would mean admitting defeat to a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Negative," he replied through clenched teeth. "All ships will continue the attack. We cannot return to the Empire having been defeated by a single enemy vessel." But even as he spoke, Zethvar knew the battle was already lost. His remaining ships were scattered and demoralized. Their weapons seemed useless against the human defenses, and worst of all, he was beginning to suspect that this was exactly what the humans had wanted all along. On the human ship, Major Yoon Hae-jin stood in the main hangar bay, watching his Marines prepare their equipment. The battle was going well, But he knew that space combat was only part of warfare. If any of the alien ships tried to ram the Indomitable or launch boarding pods, his people would be ready. "Sir," said one of his sergeants, "the aliens don't seem to know about our marine capabilities either." "Let's hope they don't find out," Yoon replied. "But if they do, they'll learn that human soldiers are just as full of surprises as human ships." The major was right to be cautious. Human military doctrine did not rely on any single advantage. Their ships were designed to appear weak while being incredibly strong. Their weapons were hidden until needed. Even their soldiers carried equipment that looked primitive, but incorporated technology that most alien races had never imagined. Back on the Vorthak flagship, Science Officer Krikstal was making a discovery that filled him with dread. As he watched the human ship maneuver and fight, he began to understand the true scope of their deception. "Admiral," he called urgently, "I don't think this was an accident." "What do you mean?" "The humans wanted us to find them. Look at their patrol route, their position when we arrived, the way they responded to our demands. They were waiting for someone like us to show up." Zethvar felt his blood turn cold. "Are you saying this was a trap?" "I think it was a test, sir. They wanted to see how we would react to meeting a supposedly inferior species. They wanted to study our tactics, our weapons, our psychology, and while they were doing that, they were sending information about us to their military commanders." The Admiral realized with growing horror that his science officer was right. The humans had not been caught off guard by their arrival. They had been ready, prepared, and waiting. The 30-minute delay had not been fear or indecision. It had been preparation time. "Sir," called the sensor operator, "I'm detecting new contacts. 12 ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. More humans." "Yes, sir. Much larger than the ship we're fighting. These appear to be true dreadnoughts." Admiral Zethvar looked at the tactical display and felt his last hope disappear. The 12 new ships were massive, each one larger than his own flagship. If one disguised human patrol ship could destroy half his fleet, what would 12 human battleships do? "All ships," he transmitted on the fleet frequency, "prepare for retreat. We cannot win this battle." But as his remaining vessels tried to turn away from the fight, they discovered that the single human ship was not going to let them leave easily. It moved to block their escape route, its weapons still firing with deadly accuracy. Captain Park smiled grimly as he watched the alien ships try to flee. "Not so fast," he said quietly. "Admiral Song will want to meet you properly before you go anywhere." On the bridge of the Vorthak flagship, Admiral Zethvar studied the final scan results with growing satisfaction. The human ship was even weaker than their first readings had suggested. Science Officer Krikstal had compiled a complete analysis, and the numbers were almost laughably in their favor. "Tell me everything," Zethvar commanded, settling into his command throne. Krikstal activated the main display screen. A detailed image of the human ship appeared, with colored sections showing different systems and capabilities. The vessel measures 793 meters in length, mass approximately 200,000 tons, crew complement of 847 beings. Smaller than our scout ships, noted Sub-Commander Veltar from his position beside the Admiral's throne. "Indeed," Krikstal continued. "Power output from their main reactors is only 67% of what we would expect from a ship that size. Either their technology is very inefficient, or they are operating on minimal power to appear non-threatening." Zethvar leaned forward. "What about their weapons?" "Basic kinetic cannons, sir. 12 forward-mounted units that fire solid projectiles. Some energy beam weapons, but they appear to be short-range defensive systems only. No plasma technology. No quantum weaponry. No gravitational manipulators." The bridge crew exchanged looks of amusement. Their own ships carried plasma cannons that could melt through a moon's crust, quantum torpedoes that could tear holes in space itself, and gravitational weapons that could crush a ship into a ball of twisted metal. "Defenses?" asked Veltar. "Primitive energy shields that would barely stop our point defense systems. Hull armor appears to be some kind of reinforced metal alloy, strong enough for meteor impacts, but it would not slow down our main batteries." Zethvar stood and walked to the main view screen. The human ship looked so small compared to his dreadnoughts. One of his vessels could probably destroy it without even using main weapons. "What about those dead zones in the scan?" he asked. Krikstal brought up a different view of the human ship. Several sections showed up as dark areas where their scanners could not penetrate. 7 compartments that our sensors cannot read clearly. Most likely areas where they store supplies or house their primitive computers.
Many younger species use dense materials to reduce electromagnetic interference. Could they be hiding weapons?
Unlikely, sir. The dead zones are too small and too scattered. Besides, the power readings from those areas are minimal. If they had significant weapons hidden there, we would detect the energy signatures. What Crixtel did not know was that human ships were designed with multiple isolated power systems. The areas his scanners could not see were running on completely separate reactors, using power distribution methods that produced no detectable signatures. The dead zones were not storage areas or computer rooms. They were weapons bays, shield generators, and tactical systems that humanity had specifically designed to be invisible to most scanning technologies. On the human ship, Captain Park walked quietly through the corridors, checking on his crew's preparations. To anyone watching, it would look like normal ship operations. People moved calmly from station to station. Technicians ran standard diagnostics. Marines conducted routine equipment checks, but Park knew better. In the sealed compartments that the aliens could not scan, Chief Petty Officer Nam Subin was bringing online weapon systems that did not officially exist. Hidden along the ship's hull, camouflaged ports were opening to reveal gun turrets and missile tubes. In the deepest part of the ship, Lieutenant Kim Tae-sung was quietly activating the real power core, a fusion reactor that produced 10 times more energy than their main engine suggested. "Sir," said Commander Lee, dialing over the internal comm system, "all systems are ready for Protocol 7. We can maintain the deception for as long as needed." "Good," Park replied. "What's our status on the quantum transmission?" "Sent and acknowledged, sir. Fleet Command has our location and situation. Help is on the way, but it will take time." Park nodded. Time was what they needed to buy. The aliens thought they had 30 minutes to enjoy their superiority. In reality, the humans needed those 30 minutes to complete their own preparations. Back on the Vorthak flagship, Admiral Zethvar was planning his attack. His tactical officer had prepared several options, all of them involving the complete destruction or capture of the human vessel. "We could disable their engines first," suggested Veltar. "Leave them helpless while we decide whether to take prisoners or eliminate them entirely." "No," said Zethvar. "This is about making a statement. When other human ships arrive to investigate, they will find wreckage. They will understand that resistance to the Vorthak Empire is futile." Crixtal looked uncomfortable. "Sir, should we not attempt to learn more about their species first? Study their technology? Understand their culture?" Zethvar turned to face his science officer. "What is there to learn? They are weak. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons cannot harm us. This is not a species that will contribute anything valuable to our empire." What the Admiral did not understand was that he was making the same mistake that had destroyed many civilizations throughout galactic history. He was judging an entire species based on incomplete information. He was assuming that what he could see was all there was to see. The human military had studied this problem for decades. Their strategists had read about alien races that revealed their full capabilities too early and ended up in wars they could not win. They had learned from species that showed too much strength and became targets for preemptive attacks. So humanity had developed Protocol 7, a doctrine based on appearing weaker than they actually were. Human ships were designed to look like simple patrol vessels while carrying the firepower of battleships. Human technology was built to seem primitive, while actually being years ahead of what most species expected. "Sir," called the Vorthak communications officer, "the human ship is transmitting again." "Put it through." Captain Park's voice filled the bridge. "Admiral Zethvar, I have discussed your offer with my crew. We cannot accept vassalage, but we are willing to discuss other arrangements. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution." Zethvar smiled, showing teeth that looked like curved knives. "The time for discussion is over, human. You had your chance to submit. Now you will serve as an example." "I understand," Park replied calmly. "But surely you do not want to start a war based on a misunderstanding. Perhaps you should scan us again, more carefully this time." The alien admiral laughed. "We have scanned you completely. We know everything about your pathetic ship. There are no surprises, no hidden weapons, no secret capabilities. You are exactly what you appear to be, a minor obstacle that we will sweep aside." "I hope you are right," Park said quietly. The transmission ended. Zethvar turned to his weapons officer. All ships, battle formation. Target their engines first, then their weapons. I want them alive long enough to understand their mistake. As the 12 Vorthak dreadnoughts moved into attack position, none of their crews noticed the subtle changes happening aboard the human ship. They did not see the hull plates shifting to reveal hidden gun ports. They did not detect the power levels rising in the compartments their scanners could not penetrate. They did not realize that their scans had shown them exactly what the humans wanted them to see, and nothing more. Admiral Zethvar was about to learn that in war, the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. The 30 minutes were almost up. Captain Park stood calmly on his bridge, watching the alien fleet position itself for attack. The 12 Vorthak ships had spread out in a perfect formation, their weapons trained on his vessel. They moved with the confidence of predators who knew their prey could not escape. "Sir," whispered Commander Lee Demin, "all hidden systems are online and ready. The aliens still show no sign that they've detected our real capabilities." Park nodded slightly. His crew had done their job perfectly. To any external observer, the UES Indomitable still looked like a simple patrol cruiser. The alien scanners would show the same readings they had detected before: limited weapons, weak shields, and a power output that suggested no threat at all. But hidden beneath that false appearance, the ship had transformed itself. The real weapons were powered up and ready. The true defensive systems were online. The advanced targeting computers were locked onto the alien vessels. And deep in the ship's most secure compartments, Major Yoon Hae-jin and his Marines were preparing for boarding actions that might never come. "Captain," said Ensign Choi Min-ji from her communications station, "incoming transmission from the alien flagship. Put it through." Admiral Zethvar's voice filled the bridge, cold and commanding. "Human vessel, your time is up. You have chosen destruction over wisdom. Prepare to face the consequences of your defiance." Park looked around his bridge one more time. His crew sat at their stations with calm faces, but he could see the tension in their eyes. They were ready to fight, ready to die if necessary, but they trusted their captain to get them through this. "Admiral," Park replied evenly, "I want you to remember that you fired the first shot. When this is over, when your empire asks what happened here, tell them that humanity offered peace and you chose war. Your words mean nothing." Zethvar laughed. "In 1 minute you will be debris floating in space. Your people will learn to fear the name Vorthak." The transmission ended. Park turned to his tactical officer. "Commander Lee, are we ready?" "All systems green, sir. Hidden weapons charged and targeted. Defense grid online. Counter-electronic warfare systems active. Communications?" "Quantum burst ready to transmit, sir," replied Choi Min-ji. "The moment we engage, Fleet Command will know everything that happens here." Park looked at the main screen. The alien ships were so large, so powerful looking. Anyone seeing this battle from the outside would assume it was about to be a massacre. 12 massive dreadnoughts destroying one small human ship. In a way, they would be right about the massacre part. On the Vorthak flagship, Admiral Zethvar settled back into his command throne. This would be over quickly. The human ship was trapped, outnumbered, and completely outgunned. After its destruction, his fleet would proceed deeper into human space, destroying any resistance they found and claiming new worlds for the Empire. "All ships report ready." "Sir," announced Commander Thekmos, the fleet's weapons coordinator. "Excellent. Target their engine section first. I want them crippled but not destroyed immediately. Let them understand their helplessness before we finish them." What Zethvar did not know was that while he had been planning his attack, Captain Park had been sending carefully disguised quantum communications. The signals looked like normal ship telemetry, but they carried detailed information about Vorthak ship designs, weapon capabilities, and tactical formations. By the time the first shot was fired, human military analysts would know everything about their enemy's technology. "Sir," said Science Officer Krikstal, "I'm detecting some unusual energy fluctuations from the human ship. Very minor, but probably their primitive engines overheating under stress," Zethvar dismissed. "Fear will do that to inferior technology. Fire when ready." The Vorthak fleet opened fire with what they considered restraining weapons, energy beams designed to disable rather than destroy. 12 massive ships sent concentrated fire at one small human vessel. The space between the fleets lit up with deadly energy, and then something impossible happened. The human ship did not die. Instead, brilliant shields flared to life around its hull, Not the weak energy barriers their scans had detected, but adaptive plasma barriers that shifted and moved to deflect the incoming fire. Point defense turrets emerged from hidden compartments along the ship's hull, shooting down incoming missiles with perfect accuracy. What? Admiral Zethvar leaped from his throne, staring at the main screen. How are they still intact? The answer came in the form of return fire from the human ship. But these were not the simple kinetic cannons their scans had detected. Instead, streams of coherent plasma lanced out from hidden weapon ports, followed by missiles that moved at impossible speeds and seemed to change direction in mid-flight. The first Vorthak ship to be hit was the destroyer Death's Edge. The human plasma beams cut through its shields like they were made of paper, and the following missiles punched through its armor as if it were thin metal. The massive alien warship shuddered, listed to one side, and then exploded in a ball of fire. "Impossible," screamed Zethvar. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields." But even as he spoke, two more of his ships were taking hits. The human vessel was moving now, not fleeing but maneuvering with impossible speed and precision. It fired again, and the cruiser Bonecrusher disappeared in a flash of light. "Sir," called Krixtal, his voice filled with panic. "I'm reading massive energy spikes from the human ship. Power levels are off the charts. Their weapon systems they're impossible." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Park watched calmly as his ship's true capabilities revealed themselves. The hidden reactors were running at full power now. The real weapons, plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and gravitational disruptors, were firing in perfect coordination. The advanced targeting systems were tracking 12 enemy ships, simultaneously while the ship's combat AI predicted their movements and adjusted fire. Accordingly, "Direct hit on Target 7, reported Chief Petty, Officer Nam Subin from her weapons station. "Target destroyed." "Target 3 is trying to retreat," added Lieutenant Jang Woo-jin from sensors. "They're turning away." "Lock quantum torpedoes on Target 3, ordered Lee Da-min. "Fire when ready." The torpedoes that struck the fleeing Vorthak ship were not simple explosives. They were weapons that could tear holes in the fabric of space itself. When they hit, the alien vessel simply ceased to exist, leaving only a brief flash of exotic radiation. Admiral Zethvar could not believe what he was seeing. His mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was being destroyed by a single human ship that should not have been able to harm even one of his vessels. "All ships, concentrate fire," he ordered desperately. "Everything we have. Destroy that ship." But it was too late. The humans had used their 30 minutes well. While the Vorthaks had been gloating over their perceived superiority, the human ship had been transforming itself into something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. And in the depths of space, responding to quantum signals sent hours earlier, 12 human dreadnoughts dropped out of hyperspace and began moving toward the battle at maximum speed. The stars looked different here at the edge of human space. Captain Park Ji-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the distant glow of the Kepler 442 system through the main view screen. His ship had been patrolling this sector for 3 months now, keeping watch for anything unusual. Today, something very unusual had found them. "Captain," called Commander Lee Da-min from her position at the tactical station. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple contacts. 12 ships approaching from the outer system." Park turned to face his tactical officer. Lee was young but skilled, and the worry in her voice made him pay attention. "How big are they?" "Each one is about 3 times our size, sir. They're moving in formation." Lee's fingers danced across her control panel. "I'm reading advanced energy signatures. These aren't human ships." The bridge fell quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally met another intelligent species. The question was whether they came in peace or war. "Put it on screen," Park ordered. The view screen changed to show space ahead of them. At first there was nothing but stars. Then the computer enhanced the image, and 12 dark shapes became visible against the starfield. They were massive, sleek vessels that looked nothing like human ships. Their hulls were smooth and curved, with strange patterns of lights running along their sides. "Sir," said Ensign Choi Min-ji from the communications station, "they're transmitting something. It's not in any language we know, but the computer is trying to translate. Put it through." A harsh alien voice filled the bridge. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. "Unknown vessel, you have entered space claimed by the Vorthak Empire. Identify yourself and prepare for inspection. Park looked around his bridge. His crew of 847 men and women were trained for this moment, but no amount of training could fully prepare someone for first contact with an alien race. He took a deep breath. "Open a channel," he said. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Park G. Ho of the United Earth ship Indomitable. We are peaceful explorers from the planet Earth. We mean no harm and claim no territory in this region." The response came quickly. "You will submit to boarding and inspection. Refuse and you will be destroyed." Park felt his jaw tighten. "So much for peaceful contact. I'm afraid I cannot allow armed foreign vessels to board my ship. However, we are willing to discuss terms for a peaceful meeting." On the screen, the alien ships continued to approach. Park could see more details now. Their weapons were clearly visible. Massive gun turrets and what looked like missile tubes. Each ship could probably destroy his vessel with a single shot. "Sir," Lee whispered, "their weapons are powering up. They're getting ready to scan us." Park nodded. He had expected this. "Let them scan. Make sure all defensive systems look normal. Keep Protocol 7 sealed." Lieutenant Kim Tae-sung looked up from the engineering station. "Sir, are you sure? If they see our real capabilities, they won't," Park said firmly. "That's the whole point," the alien voice spoke again. "You will be scanned. Any attempt to interfere will be considered an act of war." "Understood," Park replied. "We will not interfere with your scans." What happened next was invisible to the human eye, but the ship's sensors registered it clearly. Powerful beams of energy swept across the Indomitable from bow to stern. The alien scanners probed every inch of the hull, trying to learn everything about human technology and capabilities. On the alien flagship, Science Officer Krixtal watched the data stream across his screens. The human ship was smaller than he had thought, barely 800 meters long compared to their own 1,200-meter dreadnoughts. Its power readings were modest, its weapons appeared basic, and its shields were much weaker than Vorthak standards. "What do you make of it?" asked Admiral Zethvar, the commander of the Vorthak fleet. "Primitive," Krixtal replied. "Their main weapons appear to be simple kinetic cannons and basic energy beams. No plasma weapons, no quantum torpedoes. Their power core is adequate, but nothing special. Their shields could not stop even one of our secondary batteries." Zethvar studied the data himself. The numbers were clear. The human ship was outgunned, outshielded, and outnumbered 12 to 1. This would be easy. "What about those areas the scanners couldn't penetrate?" he asked. Krixtal looked at several sections of the scan that showed up as blank spaces. Probably some kind of signal-dampening material in their hull. Many primitive species use such crude methods to reduce sensor echoes. It's nothing to worry about. Back on the Indomitable, Park watched his crew work at their stations. Everything looked normal, a standard patrol cruiser going about its business. The hidden compartments remained sealed. The advanced weapons stayed powered down. The real defensive systems remained invisible. "Captain," said Major Yoon Hae-jin, the ship's marine commander, "my men are ready if they try to board." "I don't think it will come to that," Park replied. "But stay alert." The alien transmission came again. "Human vessel, our scans are complete. Your technology is adequate. We offer you a choice. Submit to Vorthak rule and become vassals of our empire, or be destroyed as an example to others of your species." Park looked at his crew. Every face showed the same expression, calm determination mixed with hidden anger. These aliens had come into human space, made demands, and now threatened destruction. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "I need time to consider your offer," Park said. 30 minutes to discuss this with my crew." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice came back, filled with what sounded like amusement. 30 minutes. Use them wisely, human. It is the last 30 minutes of freedom your species will ever know. The transmission ended. Park turned to his crew. "You heard them," he said quietly. 30 minutes. Ensign Choi, send a quantum burst transmission to Fleet Command. Standard first contact package, but include our current situation. Commander Lee, begin passive preparations for Protocol 7. Lieutenant Kim, start the silent power-up sequence. As his crew began their work, Park looked back at the view screen. The 12 alien ships hung in space like predators circling their prey. They thought they had found easy victims. In 30 minutes, they would learn how wrong they were. The Vorthaks had made their first mistake when they entered human space uninvited. Their second mistake was threatening to destroy a human ship. But their biggest mistake was thinking that their scans had told them everything they needed to know about human capabilities. In 28 minutes, they would discover just how costly those mistakes could be. Admiral Song Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Titan's Fist and watched the battle ahead through the main view screen. His border defense fleet had dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule, and what he saw confirmed his worst fears about first contact with hostile aliens. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, Colonel Bae Ji-woo. "Captain Park's ship is engaged with what remains of the alien fleet. 5 enemy vessels destroyed, 3 more heavily damaged. The Indomitable appears to be in excellent condition." "Good," Song replied. "Park always was one of our best captains. Open a channel to his ship." "Channel open, sir." "Captain Park, this is Admiral Song. Looks like you've been having some fun without us." Park's voice came back immediately, calm and professional despite the battle raging around his ship. "Admiral, good to see you. These Vorthacs seem to have some misconceptions about human capabilities. I thought you might want to help educate them." Song smiled grimly. Captain Park's reputation for understatement was well deserved. Looking at the tactical display, it was clear that the aliens had walked into exactly the kind of trap that human military doctrine was designed to create. "All ships," Song transmitted to his fleet. "Battle Formation Alpha. Surround the remaining alien vessels but do not fire unless they attack first. I want prisoners if possible." The 12 human dreadnoughts moved into position with practiced precision. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons that made the Indomitable's hidden armaments look modest by comparison. Where Park's ship had been designed for deception, these vessels were built to project unmistakable power. On the Vorthak flagship, Admiral Zethvar stared at the tactical display in complete despair. His mighty fleet was trapped between a single human ship that had already destroyed most of his vessels and 12 massive dreadnoughts that could probably wipe out what remained in minutes. "Sir," whispered Sub-Commander Veltar. "What are your orders?" Zethvar looked around his bridge. His crew was demoralized and frightened. Half his ships were gone. The survivors were damaged and running low on power. Against 1 human ship they had been helpless. Against 13 they were completely doomed. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he said quietly. "Channel open, sir." "Human vessels, this is Admiral Zethvar of the Vorthak Empire. I wish to discuss terms." The response came not from Captain Park but from the lead dreadnought. A new voice, older and more authoritative, filled the Vorthak bridge. "Admiral Zethvar, this is Admiral Song Kyung-ho of the United Earth Defense Force. You entered human space uninvited, made threats against our vessels, and opened fire on a peaceful exploration ship. Explain why I should not destroy what remains of your fleet immediately." Zethvar felt sweat running down his face despite the cool air on his bridge. The human admiral's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath the words. This was not someone who would be impressed by threats or bluster. "Admiral Song," Zethvar replied carefully, "there has been a misunderstanding. We came here on a mission of exploration, not conquest. When we encountered your ship, we feared it might be hostile and acted to defend ourselves." There was a long pause before Song replied, "Admiral, we have recordings of your transmissions to Captain Park. You demanded that humanity submit to vassalage under your empire. You threatened to use our ship's destruction as an example to intimidate our species. Does this sound like defensive action to you?" On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Park listened to the conversation while his crew continued their work. The battle was essentially over, but there was still much to do. The aliens needed to understand exactly what they had stumbled into. "Sir," said Commander Lee Damin quietly, "I'm reading massive power buildups from the Admiral's ships. If those aliens try anything stupid—" "They won't," Park replied. "Look at their formation. They're not preparing to fight. They're preparing to surrender." He was right. The surviving Vorthak ships had powered down their weapons and were broadcasting surrender signals on multiple frequencies. Admiral Zethvar had finally realized that continued resistance would only lead to the complete destruction of his fleet. Admiral Song's voice came over the communications channel again. "Admiral Zethvar, you have 2 options. You can return to your empire with a message, or you can become prisoners of war. Choose quickly." What message would you have us carry?" Zethvar asked. "Tell your leaders that humanity is not interested in conquest or empire. We want to explore the galaxy in peace and to trade with civilizations that share our values." But we will defend ourselves against aggression with whatever force is necessary. Song paused, then continued. Also tell them that what happened here today was not a lucky victory. The ship you attacked was specifically designed to appear weaker than it actually is. Captain Park allowed you to scan his vessel, knowing that you would underestimate human capabilities. You fell into a trap that we have been preparing for decades. The words hit Zethvar like physical blows. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had manipulated his entire expedition from the moment of first contact. Everything that had happened was part of a carefully planned strategy. How many ships like yours are there? He asked weakly. Enough, Song replied. More than enough. What the Admiral did not say was that the Border Defense Force alone had over 200 ships like the ones currently surrounding the Vorthak fleet. The entire human military included thousands of vessels, many of them even more advanced than what the aliens were seeing today. Captain Omin Seo, the intelligence officer aboard Song's flagship, was already preparing her report on Vorthak technology and tactics. Everything they had learned from this encounter would be analyzed and distributed to human military commanders throughout known space. The next time humanity met the Vorthaks, they would be even better prepared. Admiral Zethvar, Song continued, I'm going to allow your surviving ships to return to your space, but understand that this is not mercy, it's strategy. I want your empire to know exactly what they're dealing with if they choose to threaten humanity again. And if we choose not to return, Zethvar asked, then you'll spend the rest of your lives in comfortable imprisonment while we study your technology and learn about your civilization. Either way, the information we've gained today will help us prepare for future contact with your species. Dr. Han Ji-young, the xenopsychologist aboard the Titan's Fist, was already forming theories about Vorthak society based on their military behavior. Their assumption that superior technology automatically meant victory, their willingness to threaten genocide against an unknown species, their rigid command structure, all of these factors would be useful in planning humanity's response to future Vorthak expansion. We will return to our space, Zethvar said finally, and we will carry your message to the Empire. Good, Song replied. But before you go, you're going to answer some questions about your civilization, your technology, and your military capabilities. Captain Park will be joining us to observe the debriefing. As the human fleet took position around the surviving Vorthak ships, Admiral Zethvar realized that his humiliation was not yet complete. The humans were going to interrogate him and his crew, learning everything they could about the Vorthak Empire while revealing nothing more about their own capabilities. It was a masterful demonstration of how a supposedly weaker species could turn first contact into a strategic advantage. The Vorthaks had come looking for easy conquest and instead had provided their potential enemies with detailed intelligence about their own strengths and weaknesses. In the depths of space, other alien civilizations watched and learned from what had happened. Word would spread that humanity was not what it appeared to be, that human ships carried hidden weapons and human strategies relied on deception and misdirection. The age of humanity among the stars had begun, and it had begun with a lesson that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. Never assume that what you can see is all there is to see.